but now I feel like I have. Slightly out of breath. Okay. So hi everyone. As Philip said, my name is Sophia Silverton, and I'm working on the Ebrana project with the University of Freiburg in Germany with Philip and others. And I'm really excited today to have the chance to speak with Isabel Eberlein and Dennis Petrie from Changing Cities. Maybe Dennis, could you unmute and say hi to everybody here?
Hi, good morning, everybody from Berlin.
Thank you. And then we also have Isabel. Isabel, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, I'm still imagining I'm in a nightclub, so thanks for this.
Perfect. So Isabel and Dennis are from an organization called Changing Cities, and really what they focus on is the redistribution of public space and the idea of a mobility transition. And I'm very grateful for them being here today. Also, you may have already heard their voices before because we've recorded a podcast with them for our Ebrana series, which a link will be posted, or Roman's just posted a link in the chat, so you can check that out later. But for now, I want to get right into it. And starting off with Dennis, maybe you could take us through what Changing Cities is about.
Yeah, good morning, everybody, again. Nightclubs are closed in Berlin at the moment due to the pandemic, but some people also say you have the long night from Friday to Monday and hang over till Thursday. We try to preserve that. Anyway, yeah, I want to introduce you to Changing Cities, and I want to share some pictures with you, some images from our history while I am talking, and I think this is possible now. Yeah, I'm looking for that. Yep. Okay. So we started in some 5.5 years ago with the idea to make Berlin a cycling-friendly city. And we would like to do, or we wanted to do this by using not a participatory approach, but a plebiscitary approach. We wanted to do this, we wanted to stage a Berlin bicycle referendum. And we wanted to do this not only for the people who are cycling right now, but we wanted to do this for the people who may want to cycle, or for the children who cannot cycle because of the unsafe roads. And I think this image I'm showing to you is very much symbolizes what we want to do. We want to have these 4 or 5-year-old children to cycle the streets safely. We want to have the 90-year-old grandparents to cycle with their grandchildren in the city and feel safe and comfortable. And we did this because we think that cycling or the bicycle is one of the game changers in public or in transportation, in urban transportation policies. We had some 70 years building the car-centric cities, the car-optimized cities and road systems. And we wanted to shift this, and we wanted to redistribute the public space to enable people to cycle. And we started this. We started the referendum initiative in late 2015, and started to collect signatures in May 2016 for that. And if you want to do a referendum in Berlin, you have to. There's 3 stages. First, you have to collect 20,000 signatures from Berlin residents to apply for the referendum process. This is the first stage. The second stage would be to collect some 180,000 signatures from Berlin residents. And the third stage is then kind of an election vote at an election day to introduce the either the idea or the law you propose. And we propose the law. And when we started in May 2016 with the collecting the signatures, we thought, okay, we have elections in Berlin in September 2016, so we want to stage a political signal. And so we organized the collection of signatures, and we did a lot of campaigning in advance. And so we made it happen that we collected more than 100,000 signatures within 3 weeks. This was the most successful first stage referendum initiative in Berlin ever happened. And so we did agenda setting for the elections. I'm going to show this later. And this brought us to the situation that the new government wanted to negotiate a law with us, a mobility law. So we went to negotiate the mobility law. So this is the first story I want to tell you. So we can do this agenda setting with using the means of direct democracy, of plebiscites, of referenda. This Changing Cities, we started as a bicycle referendum initiative, and then we changed, or we founded the organization, first called Netzwerk Lebenswerte Stadt, then renamed in Changing Cities. And we also gave an example to other cities, because other initiatives in other cities, they copied our means. And so now we have around some 40 bicycle referendum initiatives in Germany, in larger cities, also in states, because Germany is a federal state. We have single states. We had a bicycle referendum initiative in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is one of the largest states of Germany. And we have these in cities, ranging with the range of inhabitants between 50,000 to Berlin, 4 million. So we have this. We started really a movement in Germany, and all these bicycle referenda, they unite at the moment at the initiative called Bundesrat, because we have elections in Germany, federal elections as well, in September this year. And so we staged some of our goals for this initiative, for this elections, and sent them to the political parties, and are still campaigning with that. Since the last election and since the Berlin Abgeordnetenhaus, which is the Berlin Parliament, made the mobility law, the Berlin Mobility Law, which is based mainly on our cycling initiative, but also includes like public transport, now includes like means or measure or activities for walking, for better walking infrastructure, and will soon include also some rules for what they call new mobility, or like all these digital stuff things. We shifted our activities a little bit more from cycling to public space, and I'll show you there a picture which is quite well symbolized what we do. What we have there, this is like a little hand car, so we can move it through the streets. It has the size of a car. But we can put it everywhere, and you can sit on it, and you can have a chat on it. And we brought this to the German Parliament last year, and we still do some actions on the street with it. We call it Freiraumwunder, which is also based on the idea of some activists in Stuttgart, but we also copied this for Berlin. So we shifted to the redistribution of space, of public space, because we have the situation right now is that we have when we see public space, we have very dominantly the cars represented, and also like that the car industry, and people who do not own cars, who cannot use cars, or who are too poor to have cars, they are not represented in public space. So if we redistribute the public space to other means of transport to reduce the representation of cars, which need about 60% of all the public space in our city, moving or parking. We also can shift the representation of marginalized groups, children, elderly people, poor people in public space, if we give them more space to lift their mobility needs. When the Corona pandemic started to happen, we also stepped in, or we did this before, but on a different success levels, and I'd say. We also stepped in negotiations with other parts of the Berlin administration. In Berlin, the Berlin city is organized as we have a main administration of the whole city, and we have districts, which is like municipalities in other countries. So and it's quite difficult to find out who is really responsible for anything to do. We have this Berlin ping pong thing, where usually nobody is responsible until somebody says he or she is responsible, then everybody is responsible. So this makes things take very long in Berlin. But if we want to redistribute public space and build a network of bicycle lanes in Berlin, we have to gain much more speed in doing this. And at the beginning of last year, when the pandemic came up, some people from changing cities and the administration together came to the idea that we can do this on a temporary level, we can do this we can try it. We're not making a big plan, but we try to redistribute the public space just with the means of you usually use to save construction sites. And this is called, or we call it, or people call it pop-up bike lanes. So we made this, or we helped to make it happen, that pop-up bike lanes or bicycle lanes came to existence in a very, very short time. This was about 20-25 kilometers in spring last year, some 12 months ago. Unfortunately, the Berlin administration did not continue to do this because we have about 800 kilometers of main roads in Berlin, and we need this on all these 800 kilometers, not only on 25 kilometers. But this was a part where we were not doing like agenda setting from the outside of the administration, but we were working with the administration in a kind of expert and participatory level. So we shifted our activities a little bit from this agenda setting using direct democracy, plebiscitary elements, to participation on expert elements. We also stepped in for something last year, which we call temporäre Spielstraßen. I don't know if there's an English translation for that, so I don't know it, so I can't say it. This is on every Sunday. We just close a little part of the road in the living area for cars and make it accessible for people, for children to play there. For people to hang around, especially during the pandemics, hanging around outside. This was quite successful and was also supported by many citizens to help to build these, to save these from cars entering and stuff like that. And we were also involved in this, but from that we developed the idea, and now I'm coming to the end, to make something like that permanent. In Berlin, we have the situation and also with the, in Berlin, we have, I think it's in every major city situation, that we have these living areas, but car drivers are using this as a shortcut from larger roads to other large roads. And so we try to adopt the idea, which is also implemented in Barcelona, called Superblock, Superilles, to close some of the roads in the living areas for this traffic going through. And due to that, enhance the accessibility to the roads in that area. We call this Kiezblocks. So because we have in Berlin the living areas, they are called Kiezes, and blocks from the Barcelona, from the adaptation. And we are now, right at the moment, having a campaign that we initiate and support the many initiatives on the Kiez level, on the very small living area levels, to implement Kiezblocks in Berlin and try to use also again the means of plebiscitary democracy, direct democracy. Like we want to stage little referendums in all the districts in Berlin to implement those Kiezblocks and try to set the agenda for the next Berlin election, which is in September this year. And we also have a website where you can see all the initiatives. I'll give you an image of that, and I'll post you the URL into the chat right in a minute. And now I finished my little, right through the history of changing cities.
Thanks so much for that. Thanks for that introduction, Dennis. I hope everybody got a good sense of what you're about as an organization. I would like to hear from Isabel for a few minutes here. Isabel, in the past, we've talked about the importance of bringing together all sorts of different groups of people who are involved in your initiative within Changing Cities. Could you maybe talk about this a little bit, about the importance of building bridges between all of these different individuals who might interact in the initiatives and the work that you do?
Yeah, thanks. Maybe first of all, let's start off with why do people engage in Changing Cities? I think there are different levels for this. It's like some have like really individual reasons, others really have structural reasons. So we are all combining that we want to have an accessible city, a just city, a city that is, as Dennis already pointed out, redistributing public space and also having a fairer share of how public space is divided. And, you know, addressing the issue of changing a city, it requires different actors. And what we do in Changing Cities is, as Dennis also said, we're coming from the bicycle. So the bicycle is our tool to change the city. But as soon as we address public space with our Kiezblock campaign or our temporary open streets or our temporary play streets, we interact with other people. And let me start off with let's get back. So we have individual reasons and structural reasons to work with us. So an individual reason can just be, I want to have my children play safely on the street. And a structural reason could be, I want a safer environment for everyone. And what we have to do at Changing Cities, or what we want to do, we want to collect different initiatives under our umbrella. And for us, it's not important if it's like Changing Cities labeled or not. It is about the aim to have a more livable city. That's what we're all working towards. And so we have various projects under our roof, mostly focusing on, of course, mobility and public space. A disclaimer is that what we want to do is that we have to enlarge our network and reach out to other groups. And what I wanted to say before is that we don't have the solution for this. So I'm also really curious to interact with you and to get your idea about how to collaborate on the issue on mobility, because in fact, we are all mobile, but a lot of people just don't think about it. You know, they are busy with their lives. They don't have any time to do it, but mobility and the way we move in a city can also be a political statement, of course. And what I also would like to point out is we are very much aware about the diversity we present as a group. So we are very aware of gender equality, and but we also see when we look in our own group, and I have my two colleagues here with me at Dirk and Dennis. They're both PhD graduates, so we are very academic, and I think we as a group are also actively working on becoming more diverse. Because why it is important to be diverse? Because we live in a very diverse city. Berlin is not only famous for its nightclubs, but also for, I don't know, people from all over the world, from over 190 nationalities living in the city and making the city the picture how it is. So I think it is important to include these various groups in the question about how is our city looking the best for everyone? How is it accessible for everyone? And therefore, we also we are currently looking for people to make bridges and to have new collaborations, for example, to reach out to the Turkish community in Berlin, or to reach out to people working towards like an affordable city, like good affordable rents in the city, or like valuable and good energy, as Boris pointed out in his talk. So I think there is still a lot to do. And the example with the open street example that Dennis raised, I think was for me a good learning experience, because when we put things in the open space, we also get to know people from the neighborhood, and that were people that we usually didn't attract via our channels. And there were new collaborations coming up with various generations and people from various backgrounds. So I think we make it ourselves on the way, but there's a lot to learn, and I'm happy to get your example from your cities.
Thank you very much, Isabel. So it's nice to hear that sometimes building bridges between different groups of people doesn't have to be a very formal process, but it can often happen in an organic way and a fun way as well in the work that you do. So there's certainly so many topics to touch on here, including a lot of questions around participation and engaging different groups of people in these processes in changing cities. And there'll be an opportunity to talk about that more in session number 2, where Dennis will be in one of the breakout rooms. So if anybody's left wondering more about changing cities, please visit Dennis's breakout room there. But for now, we'll have to end this segment. Thank you both, Isabel and Dennis, again. And I'll pass it back over to Philip to wrap things up.
Yeah, thank you. We are exactly on schedule.